There we go. Welcome to Quoth the Raven with the Sprite Raven. Season 2, Episode 51. The Return of the Co-Host. Our Jedi Master co-host.
Hello, everybody.
John Figaro Norris, everyone.
Hope everybody had a nice Thanksgiving and good to be back.
Okay, we got a crazy week this week, and normally we do our silly notice, so I guess we better do that first. In accordance with the new copyright regulations, this episode of Quoth the Raven is intended for ages 16 and up, while some of the content we will feature is kid-friendly. The context of the episode is to address adults, inform them of said content, for them to research as consumers in service of their youth. In other words, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles, teachers, librarians, etc. There is the possibility of adult language present on the episode as well. Rated TV 16 and up. And let's see what we got today. We got a crazy week, crazy day for me. A lot of errands. Was afraid we weren't even going to get home in time to do the show. It was just how busy it was this week. Let's see what we got for questions, John.
Fire away.
Our first question is from Anonymous that says, how come you don't do short videos like many of the other comic podcasters on just one topic at a time? Well, mostly because I just don't like the recording software and building a software and doing it live for 5 or 10 minutes hasn't really panned out well for me. I've tried practicing them in StreamYard privately, and I'm not liking the results. I'm still trying to work it out. Hopefully in season 3 we'll get doing stuff like that. Another reason I don't like doing it that much is because, well, I see a lot of other people doing it and their videos are, well, obnoxiously bad. Let's put it that way. And we'll actually talk about that as one of our hot button topics this week. So a lot of people were talking about a certain topic, a little bit ridiculous this week. Wouldn't you say, John?
Yes.
So that's one of the reasons. What's the next question? No T-shirts yet. No, not yet. I was just telling John that I got some of the shirt materials back from the company I was thinking about using, and I wasn't satisfied with the quality of the material. I was concerned that the shirts wouldn't last through washings, and that the price that they're going to charge and everything that I would have to charge, I just didn't feel comfortable working with them yet. So I'm still trying to find the right balance for something so that's affordable for the audience, and you're getting a quality product for your money. As soon as I get that straightened out, we'll have them up. Our next question is from Mike in Michigan. He asked me if I'm doing any store appearances or online sales for the holidays.
Funny you should mention that.
Yes. I just scheduled a store appearance for December 12th at the Gamers Gathering Place in Columbia, South Carolina, in the Boozer Shopping Center. Boozer, what a heck of a name for a shopping center, but that's what it is called. I'll give more information on that later this month when we have all the official details, but I'm going to be there from Saturday, December 12th from 3 p.m. to 7 p.m. So we'll be there, and then I will have a holiday sale as well online. That'll be on YouTube and Facebook and through eBay as well. But I'm probably going to do it after the 12th because the store intends to, I guess, they're going to try and really promote the store appearance and have a lot of people come. So I don't want to put a bunch of stuff on eBay and sell it all out before that, because then I wouldn't have anything to sell. So we'll wait and see what happens after the 12th. Hopefully I'll have a lot of stocking stuff for Christmas card or sketch cards and stuff like that, but we'll see. Our next question is from Angela, and she asks, "Did you get your new glasses yet? It looks like you're still wearing the same ones you always have." These are the same glasses I've always been wearing, and even when I get my new glasses, they'll be the same glasses I've always been wearing because I'm going to use the same frames. So you won't know I've actually changed glasses. But currently the situation is they've got the lenses, the glass at the place to make the glasses, but one of the set of frames that I bought is on back order. It's been on back order for like 3 weeks, and they're saying another week and a half to 2 weeks before they get it in. And I don't see the sense in going multiple trips to the place to get these things made and picked up and done. So I'm waiting for that last frame to show up in proper condition, and then I'll go over there and get everything made, and hopefully everything will be right, and they won't break my good frames, because I'm not even sure I like the ones I ended up getting, but we'll have to wait and see. Let's see our next question. Did you see the job openings they've made available at DC Comics? If so, would those jobs be anything you would be interested in, and do you think you're qualified for them? That's from Louis Mercado. Well, why don't we go both answer that? I mean, have you seen those job openings, John?
I'm trying to remember. I may have seen some of them. I don't remember what they all are off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, there was a news report that's been going around the circuit. There's several like upper management positions that are open to replace the people they just fired, more or less.
Right.
And, would I go there? First off, I doubt very seriously that they would pay off my mortgage and pay for me to move out to California to do it. So if they're not doing that, then no, I'm not interested. The other thing is, realistically, am I qualified? On paper, I am, but what they want is not my forte. They want to do more web comics, digital format stuff, and I'm more traditional. So that would be a disadvantage for me. I haven't seen any real editorial or talent scout type positions. I've only seen the upper management stuff. And I'm not sure what they're looking for as far as experience, because if you want someone who's younger and has be less cost, to the company, I get it, but you need to have someone with the experience, both the traditional publishing and the digital, if you're going to do this properly. And not very many of the young people really have a good foot in traditional publishing, and most of us who are in the traditional publishing, unless we've been through digital as it's grown through over the decades, we're probably not up to speed with what they want. So, and I'm not one that's up to speed. I know that. So, and of course, you're not even in that market yourself, John. But if you were in that position and you had that option, would that even be something you would think about?
I don't know. Probably not.
Yeah. Given what's happened with DC and the mass cuts. Yeah. I'm waiting for Disney to do the same thing to Marvel, to be honest. But Marvel's got a lot more leeway because of the success of the movies, other things going on. But it'll be interesting to see what they do. Let's see what other questions we have, if any. We don't have any other questions. So if you have questions, you can email them to quotheravenlbr72@gmail.com. Subject QTR questions. Please indicate whether or not you want your name and locale read on air. Let's see what we got here. I'm looking for a banner. It's not there. That's weird. Ah, here it is. Let's go to our comic reviews. One of our friends is live now, competing with us, Aaron Lepresti. That's what that sound was. It's a short test for his he's having a sale this weekend. His holiday sales this weekend. So he's doing a short test to make sure everything's copacetic. I'm pretty sure that's what that's about. And that's fine. Not a problem. But let's see. Let's go ahead and you want to go with reviews first, or you want to go with the rant first?
Let's go with the rant first. Why not?
You want to go with the rant first? Okay. This is going to be fun. All right, let's. John and I've been hearing a lot about different things. I get asked a lot to watch other people's podcasts and give feedback on them all the time. And people ask why I don't do that. Well, you're about to find out why I don't normally give feedback on other people's podcasts. Raven rants. Recently, DC solicited a upcoming YA graphic novel called I Am Not Starfire. And it's about the teenage daughter of Starfire, who doesn't look anything like Starfire. She looks, quite different. And I'll show you in a moment what I'm talking about. There we go. This is the cover to the book. And it's written by New York Times bestselling author Mariko Tamaki and drawn by Yoshi Yoshitani. And, a lot of people have made a lot of whining about they can't figure out who the audience is supposed to be for the book. They're attacking the writer for their own personal appearance because the lead character, Mandy, the short goth-looking girl in the center of the cover here, supposedly resembles her. It doesn't. It doesn't. It's just as much a resemblance of the Teen Titans character Raven as it is the author. We've seen Ethan Van Sciver flat out lie publicly about this book. And we're about to expose him in the lie. And we've seen a lot of ugly comments from fandom, whether it's your boy Zach, whether it's Ryan Kincaid, whether it's Perch, just dozens of them. I only handed over a few of them to John, and I think John watched. What did you watch, John? You watched Ethan's all the way through, and then like maybe 2 to 3 minutes of the others before you got fed up with them?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even make it. I didn't. I should say for disclosure, I didn't actually make it all the way through the other two. Just as like,
yeah,
okay.
Like I said, you watched all of Ethan's, but maybe 3 to 5 minutes of the other two at the most.
Something like that.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so what we're going to do is we're going to try to explain why DC picked this project up, why these particular creators, and who and what the target audience is. That's what we're going to try to do. But first, I want to share what Ethan said. And that's going to be real fun. Now, we're in here. Now, I don't know if you can see it right here, but he's basically taking Mariko Tamaki's Twitter account and jumping on this author. Oh, she's a YA author. Here, let's listen to Ethan.
She is a YA author. She was hired by DC Comics to produce this right here several months ago. Now, I don't know for sure, but I'm going to I'm going to risk a guess. And that guess is that she was hired about 4 or 5 months ago, back when AT&T was doing its first bloodbath, back before when it fired most of its editorial staff, the first 20%.
Now, I want to go back just a few seconds there, if I can, and replay this for a moment.
Editorial staff, the first 20%, about 4 or 5 months ago. I'm going to risk deuce this.
Right before that. All right. I'm trying to get to the exact moment so that you can see the screen if I can share it large enough. Okay. Right here, right below here, in the very bottom of the screen, he's being very subtle here and trying to hide it. It says that this book was announced in 2019, the summer of 2019. Ladies and gentlemen, that means that they hired her in 2019, not 4 or 5 months ago. Now, Ethan either is deliberately ignoring the clear fact that's stated right there on the screen, sharing it right in front of his audience, and saying, I'm going to take a risk and say that she was hired in the last 4 or 5 months by AT&T to do this book that was announced in 2019. Now, another thing is Ethan, as he always announces himself, always presents himself when he starts up any video, 27-year veteran professional, trusted member of the media. If you've been in the business 27 years, and Ethan has, that's not a false statement on Ethan's part, then you know what the time is from the time a book is accepted to the time it hits market, and it's not 4 or 5 months, especially for a graphic novel like this. It's usually 18 to 24 months. The book was announced in August 2019, and lo and behold, it's being released in August 2021. 2 years, 24 months. So, why is he saying this? What's the point? Why make that comment and say something that he knows is false conjecture? What's the agenda? What do you think, John?
I guess he's just looking for anything he can say against this book. Just anything to downplay it.
Yeah, that could be. That could be. Mm-hmm. But let's what we got here? Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's see. Sorry. Aaron just sent me something. That's actually what he's doing. Is he's doing a quick sketch to check out his new HD Pro. He just bought the HD for streaming for StreamYard. He wants to see how it looks. That's all that is. That's cool though. Let's see. Now, we've already said this, so we're going to go past that. And, like I said, for people who don't understand publishing schedules, including apparently veteran Caesar Salad for Brains Van Sciver, a typical original graphic novel has an 18 to 24 month schedule from its acquisition of the principal concept to the official release date. This book was announced as having been picked up in the summer of 2019, and lo and behold, it's been released in August of 2021. Go figure. Like I said, it's right there. The announced date is right there on the screen that he's looking at and showing his audience in the second line under that picture. And you know how hard he was trying to hide that text, the way he was holding the camera and angle it so his audience couldn't see it. He lies because it suits the false narrative that he's pushing on his unwitting viewers. A false narrative that says goth people, gay people, obese people cannot be the focal character of any comic because nobody, in his mind, nobody wants to read about such characters. There is no audience to market this book to. He's implying by this statement that he just made, that you just heard him made, that she got hired after the editors were all fired. He's implying that if AT&T had not fired all their editors, that someone in editorial would have killed the book, even though it had already been on the schedule for the past 15 months. I got to say, homophobic much, Ethan? Let's address another point he makes in the video, though. He calls the writer, Mariko Tamaki, a YA author. No, she's a YA graphic novelist. There's a difference. She's never written anything other than comics that I'm aware of. She has 7 original young adult graphic novels. In fact, those 7 novels have collectively been published in 11 countries in 7 languages: English, Spanish, French, German, Italian, Japanese, and Russian. And they have a global sales of over 600,000 unit sales and over 200,000 in the US alone. This is not a hard thing to figure out. If I'm DC and I've got someone of that level of sales, that's someone I want to have producing product for me. And by the way, she's not just doing this book. She's actually writing Wonder Woman right now. So what's the problem? I'm just asking, what is it that not just him, but Perch, Ryan Kincaid, your boy Zach, all of them are going, why is this woman even hired? What's she even here for? And you look like you're tired. Yeah. Are you tired of them, or just tired, or both?
Mostly just tired.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. But let's look at these sales. Not to mention, when you have those kind of sales, it's pretty sure there's an audience that's going to find her work if they produce something. But these other 7 books she's done have received 3 Eisner Awards, 2 Ignatz Awards, 2 Harvey Awards. These are like 3 of the major comic book industry awards. 1 Joe Shuster Award. She's the only comics creator in history, the only one in comics in history of mankind, not just comics, but in history, to have created a graphic novel or comic that has received a Caldecott Award, which is awarded annually by the Association of Library Service to Children, a division of the American Library Association, to the artist or writer of the most distinguished American picture book for children. And you're going to tell me there's no audience for this? You're going to tell me that this woman has no credibility, that there's nothing that any of these guys can figure out how to market her product, no matter what it is? Are you serious right now, gentlemen? I don't. Am I just losing my mind here, John? Or
I mean, with that much sales, I mean, somebody's got to like her, and I mean
yeah, but the thing is, they're saying it's not in their stores, and it's not, and we're going to get into why it's not in just a little bit, but because it's got to do with the other artist, Yoshi Tanahashi, or Yoshi Yoshitani, pardon me. I said Tanahashi because there's a Yoshi Tanahashi who is a wrestler in Japan. That's why I said that. So I apologize. But anyway, her books are averaging 30 to 35,000 sales in a book market, not just the comic market, but the entire damn publishing market that has a median mid-list book. That's, the mid-list sellers of the average for all books and all genre only averages 22,000. That means she's selling literally 30% higher than the mid-list. That's not failure.
Nope. I'd say it's not.
Now, how many backers did Ethan Van Sciver get for his groundbreaking, top-selling crowdfunded comic in history, Cyberfrog 2 Wrecked Planet? Total that's on the page, and I'll show it to you in just a moment to prove it to you. Let me share the screen of that real quick. Now you see this huge number of Ethan's number. It's $1 million. That's what he's saying. The biggest crowdfunded comic of all time. That's the big thing. That's not the number you worry about. The number you worry about is that number that says 10,286 backers. That's how many people bought books. 10,286 versus 30 to 35K. You're not the best-selling book in anything, Ethan. You haven't even hit a third. Now, I'm going to be honest. Yes, that's crowdfunding. And crowdfunding, even though it says 10,286, a lot of those people did order more than one copy. But to have that number to just match her numbers, it's going to have to average 3 books per person. And I don't believe that that's what he got. Now, if he wants to come on my show, he's welcome to come on my show and show me his figure numbers and show me his actual orders from these 10,286 backers. He can show me his print run orders. He can show me his sell-through numbers. But I've seen a lot of people ask him to do this on his channel, and I haven't heard a peep out of the son of a bitch. All he does is say, look at my $1.1 million campaign. It's kind of like, the only fact that matters is the fact that is the one fact that fits my narrative. Is it any wonder this guy voted for Trump? This guy is like the comic Trump guy. I mean, I'm not even saying politics wise. I mean, just like, if the narrative doesn't fit if the facts don't fit his narrative, he just ignores them. Now, like I said, that's just Ethan. We got Perch, we got Ryan Kincaid, we got Wes of Thinking Critical, we got your boy Zach, all asking, and I say that in quotations because they're not really asking, they're just slamming the book. Who is this book for? But they're never really answering that question because they're just claiming it's for nobody. Now I'm going to say it straight up, boys. If brains were gas, you collectively wouldn't have enough to run a mosquitoes go-kart around the inside of a Cheerio. Target audience for this book, ladies and gentlemen, is the Descendants audience. That ultra successful YA book and TV movie franchise from Disney where the characters are all the teenage kids of the major Disney villains. This book just changes it from a villain to a superhero as the parent. This audience had an 8.3 million viewers to see the last TV movie when it premiered on the Disney Channel. That's your target audience. 8.3 million. Now, obviously, DC's not going to hit that mark. They're not. If you want to argue and make a case against DC, you make the case that they're not marketing the book correctly to hit their target audience. You can make that case. But you saw the videos, John. Did any one of them say a damn thing about marketing the book to a proper audience?
Nope.
They just said, "Who's this for?"
Not that I've heard, unless I missed something. But no.
You know, it's this notion that it doesn't fit what we want, so it's not. There's no market for it type thing, and I just don't get it. There's a market, and that's not the only market for it. Another target audience with relation to Disney is the audience that backed the Disney TV series called Andy Mac from a couple years back, about a teenager who learns that the woman she thought was her older sister is actually her biological mother, who had her when she was too young as a teenager, and her grandmother raised her whole life as her own daughter instead. This show has multiple cast members who explore their sexual identity in the middle school, junior high level age. There's a gay male character. There's possible bisexual characters that are teens in the show as well. How many viewers a week did this show average? 1.96 million every week watch this show. That's your target audience. Now, like I said, you can make the argument that DC isn't properly marketing this book to that audience. Or maybe they're just not marketing it to you, comics dorkdom, because they know you aren't the audience. You know, which there isn't that much marketing being done for this book that I can see. They just announced it, that it was coming out, and you see all the negative publicity instead from the narrative from these podcasters who just want to tear down DC and Marvel and anybody else that isn't their shtick, basically. And, you know, how is this benefiting anybody? It's not benefiting any retailers that I can see. I talked to Eric Woodard, which is one of our local retailers at Scratch and Spin Records. He sponsored the channel before. We talked about this. And his first thing was, well, what the heck? I'm ordering the book when it comes out. I mean, I haven't seen it yet. I haven't even seen the solicitation, but from what you told me, there's nothing wrong with that. I'd market that to my descendants' audience. My daughter wouldn't mind reading that. There you go. You know, intelligent retailer, stubborn, antiquated, out of step thinking, I guess. I don't know. And my question is, based on these reactions by these guys, why should DC market this book heavily to a dickish comics fandom who look at this character and say, what, did Starfire have sex with the Penguin or something? And that was said either in the comments by the people running the podcast, or it was said in the comments sections of these videos. That exact phrase. Did Starfire have sex with Penguin? Now look at this character. She looks like a short, yes, overweight version of Raven of Teen Titans. Now, what does that matter? I want you all to think back 18 years ago to the summer of 1993 class. Remember what was going on in New Titans that year? Do you? No? Let me remind you. New Titans 100 featured the wedding of Starfire and Nightwing, only to be broken up by the demonic Raven. And what happened during this story? Raven psychically impregnated Starfire. So here we are, literally 18 years later in real time, and we're seeing a book about a teenage daughter of Starfire who looks like Raven. And you buffoons want to say that the writer's just making herself into the lead role. For all you know, she could be pulling this out of the historical canon of the history of this book, a book that was written by the co-creator of the Titans, Marv Wolfman. Read it. It's right there on the cover by Wolfman, Tom Grummett, and Al Vey. Now what are you going to say? All you people out there, oh, it's the author doing fanfic. It's the author writing herself into the book. Maybe it's not. Maybe she's an actual Teen Titans fan and remembers that storyline and is using it to create a new narrative for this book. You don't know. Did anybody ask her? Did anybody interview her? I'm not saying that is what happened. I'm saying it's a possible scenario. And I'd rather ask the person and eliminate that possibility than assume it's not and just ignore it. Mm-hmm. That's the difference between journalism and people who just run podcasts to run podcasts and do whatever they do. But if it does turn out that that is the case, and I don't know if it's going to be, I don't have any idea. Don't say I didn't tell you. What do you think, John? Does that sound like a plausible scenario?
Sure, it does. That would really be something if it did turn out to be true.
I mean, and the thing is, you see the book, and it says that she's dyeing her hair black because she actually has the orange hair like Starfire. Mm-hmm. And she's hiding something from her mother because she didn't go to her SATs, and they're all making a big deal. Oh, she didn't go to the SATs. No, maybe these guys are fat. I don't know if these guys even graduated high school, but the SATs are pretty damn important to most parents.
Yep, I remember taking them.
I took the SATs back in 8th grade. It was so important to my parents. And I was an advanced class student to begin with. And it's a good thing I did take them in the 8th grade because my 8th grade SATs were literally 235 points higher than when I took them as a junior.
Wow.
And that was because I went to really crappy high schools and was bored out of my mind. And I was literally getting stupider every year because the teachers weren't teaching anything and I wasn't using my brain. This was in Michigan. Oh, gee, Betsy DeVos, where's she from? Michigan. Just saying. Yeah. That's why my mother had to go to court on my behalf and sue the state of Michigan, sue the school to let me out of school a year and a half early and give me my diploma because I'd already finished all my requisite courses. They were trying to hold me back for a year and a half to take elective classes because there was nothing left mandatory. So just so that they could get their state money for an extra student on their budget. That's all they were doing. And of course, we won. The state secretary of education saw it our way, and I got my diploma early. But, obviously, this is an important thing. But she's avoiding her mother because she doesn't really want to go to college. That's part of the storyline that's being presented here. Okay, that's a normal thing. A lot of kids don't want to go to college. They want to go see the world and then maybe do college later, or they want to do other things. And so that's a normal storyline. What's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with telling that story in a comic book for a teenage kid. It might help some kid who's not wanting to go to college and give them the courage to talk to their parents. Use it as a platform. So what's the argument against this? I don't see it. Well, let's go ahead and go back to Yoshitani. The next thing they were all complaining about is how ugly this artwork is and how Yoshi's artwork isn't marketable. I need to remind you all that she was the artist for Satana and the House of Secrets that came out in February of this past year. Or not this past year, but earlier this year in 2020. It ranked number 15 of all graphic novels that came out that month. Sold to comic shops via Diamond with 3,168 copies. The only stuff that beat it out were Batman and Star Wars related trades. And remember, that's just the comic shops. The digital downloads, and distribution to other retail outlets. That's bookstores, libraries, schools, other avenues, came to 30,394 according to BookScan. And all I heard about this book right here was that it was a failure too. Mm-hmm. How is 30,000 unit sales, almost 31,000 unit sales, a failure? I want an answer to that. I don't see how that's a failure. I don't even see where 3,600 is a failure in the direct market when more than 2/3 of the graphic novels on a monthly basis sell less than 500 copies nationwide through these comic book retailers. I'd say that's a success, even in the direct market. But let's, if you don't mind, I'm going to cut you out here a second. Let's take a look at some of this ugly art. Is that ugly to you?
No, I don't think it's ugly. No.
Man, it's got good story passing, and she's drawing a kid that's laying on a couch with her rabbit. Who cares? Type thing is what they're going to say. They're not saying there's no action. There's no hot satana in the fishnet stocking magician outfit that I can have wet dreams about. That's what's wrong with it. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong at all.
That's the only thing I can think of. Same thing with Starfire. This is, the 6-foot Amazon orange skinned alien bimbo with the big boobs and, who, kisses all the, and remember, she's a pansexual character. Even though it's never been officially stated, Wolfman wrote this character as a pansexual character that actually learns languages and learns almost like tactile, psychokinetic learning from touching people sexually, like kissing them and other things. That's how she learned English early on in the Teen Titans books. The only reason she became a monogamous character is because she was dating Dick Grayson, who couldn't handle her being, pansexual and polygamous. And really, it wasn't even that Dick Grayson had that issue. It was that the Comics Code had that issue, and they didn't want parent groups throwing a hissy fit in the 1980s because they weren't ready for it. Are we ready for it in the 2021 coming up? I don't know. I hate to say it, but I think we're still pretty much at arrested development mentality in the comic book fandom, maybe even in American society, based on what we've seen with the racist and anti-LGBTQ sentiment that's been expressed in this country over the last 4 years, especially the last year and a half. But it's here, it's not going away. And you can either be a dick or a bitch and complain about it and show that you're an intolerant, insufferable person, or you can learn to realize that for the most part, people's sexuality is their own business. As long as it's not directly affecting your life, they're not pursuing you personally. They're not pursuing your partner or someone that you would want to be your partner or something like that. What's the big deal? Well, they make me uncomfortable. Why? Are they hitting on you? If they're hitting on you or they're giving you looks that imply that they might be interested in you, talk to them and say, hey, I appreciate that maybe you like the way I look, or you might be attracted to me, but I'm sorry, that's not how I roll. But be respectful, and most people of that community will respect that and move on to other things.
Mm-hmm.
Because first off, they're used to being rejected. Unfortunately, that's just the way our culture has treated them over the last number of decades. So they'll just see it as a normal, natural rejection, and move along, as long as you don't show resentment or anger towards them for it. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing with a book. If you are reading about this person who might have that background, first off, it's a fictional character. What possible harm are they doing to you? Nothing. It's the same thing with Iceman. We had this problem with Iceman a couple of years ago when he was announced as being gay, presented as gay in the X-Men. And they're like, they're ruining this character. He's never been gay. Where'd this come from? Well, it came from the 1980s when he was in the New Defenders. And there was a character named Cloud who was an alien that was two individuals merged into one, and they could switch back female, male gender. And in the male form, the character liked Moondragon, another member of the team, and in the female form, liked Bobby, Iceman. And when he realized what was going on, it freaked him out. And yet he couldn't deny that he still had feelings for this person, this entity, Cloud. That was a metaphorical statement by J.M. DeMatteis, who was writing it at the time, about a transgendered person or a person who's bisexual and closeted. That's what, and so there you go. It's right there. I'm sorry if they didn't take the Comics Code sticker off the book and thump you over the head with a 2x4 and say, this person's trans, this person's bi, but it was there. And I understood that at 11 years old. And we got 40 and 50 somethings who don't get it now. I don't. This is why and they say this is what's killing comics. It's not the creators, it's not the stories, it's the intolerance and the attitude problem that's killing comics, and it's in the fan base. And that's why DC is targeting these outside markets and not you, fandom. Mm-hmm. Now, you can get angry about that, or we can learn to share this wonderful wealth of characters and content that is the comics universe with the rest of the world. Which would you rather do?
Learn and share, personally.
Another thing that was mentioned about that Zatanna book, the reason it didn't succeed was because there was no marketing for it to comic book shops. That's why nobody backed it, because you got to remember there's still about 2,600 comic book accounts according to Diamond, exclusive accounts of Diamond for comic book retail stores. Only had 3,168 orders. That means barely more than one copy a store average. That's so that's why they're saying it's a failure. Well, is that DC's fault, or is that the retailer's fault for not doing anything with it? And they say, well, it's DC's fault. They didn't market the book. They didn't? Here's a store poster for it. This was sent out to over 1,800 comic shops, 2,600. There were bookmark ads as well. There were other commercial advertisements in the comics for this YA graphic novel, and for like 2 months in a row, almost every book had a full page ad for this series, for this graphic novel. And you're telling me that they didn't market this book to you as a consumer base. Come on. It's not that they didn't try. It's not that there isn't a market. It's the comics community and the self-interest and the bad attitude. If this book sold 30K, I don't see why I am not Starfire. If it's properly ordered and marketed to the correct audience, it will sell a respectable number of copies. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to sell huge 30, 40, 50,000 units. It's not. You know why? Because the only books that sell like that are the Bat books, and they're not, and the retailers are not going to order and promote that book to that level. They're just not. It's too much work for them, and it's only one book. The reason they do this with Batman, the reason they do this with X-Men is because they have so many books. They hook you on one, they'll get you to buy them all. That's the truth. That's why those books are marketed the way they are and the way that they're produced to the excess amount of titles that they are. So we can't expect that number in comic book industry, but a 5,000 to 8,000 units, I don't see why it can't be done. And 5,000 to 8,000 is going to put you in the top 3 in a given month for graphic novels sold through comic book shops, through Diamonds, every single month. Doesn't matter what the book is. The top ones usually sell between 5 and 8. So I don't, it's up to the retailers to decide what they want to do. And this has always been the case with every book. It's not just a book like Zatanna or I Am Not Starfire. This is the same thing with every independent comic book, whether it's a graphic novel, whether it's a floppy, single issues. You order what you order, you promote what you promote. And what sells is what you order and promote the strongest, as a general rule of thumb. If you don't want to order the product, you don't, and then and we've had this argument on this show before, with Mark Andrew Smith has been a guest on the show, and he questioned people. He challenged retailers because his book Gladstone School for World Conquerors didn't sell well, and they told him he didn't market the book well enough. And it was like the order numbers for this book weren't enough to say 2-3 copies a store nationwide. Yeah, he didn't market the book well enough, or did the retailers fail to market this book and see who might want it in their stores? Because we got so many people who are sick of X-Men. They're sick of Avengers. They're sick of all these books that have multiple books. These concepts that have multiple titles. These are the titles that you give to those individuals and see if they're interested in, because they still like the genre of superheroes or superhero teams, but it's a one book. Do you want, if you're really that annoyed with X-Men, give up the 10 books and pick one, whether it's Gladstone School for World Conquerors, whether it's Section 0, whether it's the Perhapanauts, whether it's, Captain Cadiddlehopper and his Clown Commandos. I don't know what you're going to want to read, but it's there. And why we fail as an industry is because we're not embracing all that content and using it to our best advantage, in my opinion. And that's what we're going to do at the end of Raven Rants tonight. You got anything to add, John?
No, I think it's pretty well covered.
Okay. Then let's go ahead and get out of that mode and be positive now.
Yes.
We've spent 45 minutes being negative, and not only negative, we're still trying to be positive and try and show the positive aspects of this book, and that it can be marketable and it can be successful, and who the market is. So we were being positive, but my negativity and my anger towards certain people did show through. We're going to talk now instead about reviews. And you want to go first?
Sure, I'll go first.
Okay. I just got to get to thing there. Oh, it doesn't want to share it, of course. I hate when it does this. There we go.
Okay, so my first comic for the night, and both comics I'm going to review, I got months ago when Lewis and I made our trip to our Heroes and Dragons, one of our local comic shops. We went there because there was a sale on the back issue bin stuff, but this was not in the back issue bin. I paid full price for it, and gladly so. And appropriately enough, this is a holiday themed comic, and it's called North Stars. Publisher is Action Lab Studios. Writers are Hagen and Jim Shelley, and a point of interest, Hagen and Jim Shelley are actual locals for Lewis and I. We both live in the Columbia, Lexington, South Carolina area, and the Shelleys live in Gaston, so nice to support local authors. And the artist is Annalisa Jones. Genre is fantasy, release date November 2016. So what it's about: the magical adventures of Holly, the daughter of Santa Claus, and that's, in case you can't tell, that's Holly in the red coat there, and Frostina, a Yeti princess, as they explore the mystical wonders of the land of Polaris. In this story, Holly and Frostina journey to the subterranean city of Undertown to investigate trouble in Troggy Town. There's an evil force scheming right below Snowville, and it threatens Christmas itself. Dun dun dun. So, in researching this title, I found out this started out as a digital release, and now there are 2 hardcover volumes of it available, with a third one on the way. It should be in mid-July, according to Amazon. And there's actually a page in the back of this book where they talk about what their influence is, and 2 things that really influence this book are the classic Rankin Bass Christmas TV specials and European folklore. And if you read the book, you can definitely see the influence. And what I like, even though Santa appears on the cover, what I like about it is that Santa is not the main focus of the story. I mean, so you have Santa, the elves, and the reindeers, but they're only seen very briefly. And the story really is about Holly and Frostina. And so this little cute little green guy is the Troggy, and in keeping with incorporating the European tradition, the guy on the right is the villain, and he is none other than the Krampus with one of his straw lad henchmen. And so they really do a good job of incorporating European folklore like Krampus, and mentioning stuff like the Christmas Call, which hold on, I'll find it right here. So in this case, Christmas coal is coal that was magically altered by, hold on, by the fall fairy, and Santa gives it to people who were naughty, and the coal actually helps them to get rid of their naughtiness and become nicer people. It's like, man, we could use that in the world today.
Santa, put that in Ethan Van Sciver's
Oh,
put that in your boy Zach's stocking.
Yeah. And I have to say the artwork is just I think the artwork is just delightful. And so if you want to go ahead and show some of the artwork here.
Okay, we'll do that.
So this is, of course, you see Polaris, and this is Snowville, where Santa Claus lives.
Where exactly is Polaris based on the Earth, according to the book? Did it say? I mean, is it in the North? Because North Pole is kind of weird, you know. There's different.
All it says is deep within the North Pole, beyond the reach of modern man. So,
okay,
somewhere in the North Pole.
All right. It looks like a part of Greenland almost, doesn't it?
It kind of does. And so, of course, here we see Santa and Holly, his daughter, waking up. And see, I think if you advance to the next one.
Yep.
Yeah. So this is Santa telling Holly that they've got a special guest coming over, and from this point on, this one on the left is the third page, and once Frostina is introduced, like, this is really all you see of Santa Claus. And once these two get together, like, the story is about them. And let's see. So one thing I wanted to point out with the artwork is there's a couple of instances where Annalisa Jones has the characters communicating through what I'll call art balloons. And the first example,
there you go. Keep going.
Is here. So this is, so they've just,
you know, that might be Hagen's art.
You know, it could be. It doesn't say that.
No, it doesn't, but it could be. That's interesting.
Could be. But so
something that John didn't mention. When Hagen wrote this, she was like 8 or 9 years old. Her father wrote the finalized script, but the story is based on Hagen's ideas, and she wanted to tell a story based on the stories that her father told her from the classics, and that's where this story came from. So go ahead, John.
So what happens here is they've caught the little troggy trying to steal something from Santa's place, and so they're trying to find out, you know, who he is, what he's doing there, and so he being what I'm assuming is a child, he he tries to communicate what went on in his village, and of course, being a child, you know, it's really appropriate to use childlike artwork, and it can, and just like a child would probably tell a story about something bad, like really bad that happened to them. It's like, you know, you get the sense that something bad has happened, but you don't know exactly what. Like, maybe they're not able to
convey
explain exactly what went on.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was a really nice way to get that across, is by using children's artwork to communicate the thoughts of what I'm assuming is a child Troggy.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
it's actually different. I mean, it's
yeah,
got used before, and you get like you say, visually you can see what it is that's being
Mhm.
explained. You can see Krampus has come to this village, and Krampus has attacked the villagers or whatever.
Yep.
And you get the gist, but at the same time, is it not just a child? It's also a language barrier situation,
Yes.
probably, because he doesn't speak the same language as they do.
And before I show you the second example, I gotta back up towards something. One thing this book does really well is it shows you that these young girls are not helpless, and that they really can take care of themselves, because each one has a special ability. And Holly's ability is that she can jump really high.
Mm-hmm.
The reason she can jump really high is because when she was a baby, she ate a lot of the special corn that Santa feeds his reindeers on Christmas Eve, which enables them to fly. And because she did that, that enables her to jump really high. And as for Frostina,
That's interesting.
yep.
Well, for Frostina, she's a Yeti. She's got to be super strong or something, right?
Yeah, she can handle herself pretty well.
I love the design for that character, by the way.
Yes. And
I mean, it's I don't know. It's like soft and fluffy female version of Sabretooth.
yeah.
X-Men. If Sabretooth had a daughter, it would be Frostina. No. Or maybe it's Big's daughter from Parappanauts.
Yeah. So Krampus finally comes on the scene, and they explain who Krampus is and why he does what he does. And of course, if you're one of his straw lads who just got beat up by a girl, and Krampus grills you on who attacked you, you're probably not going to want to admit that you were beaten up by a girl. And so here we have the second example, where you have this straw lad. He knows what happened, but it's like he doesn't want to be the one to tell Krampus that they just got trounced by a girl. So you know exactly what he's thinking here. He makes up the story that it's like, oh yeah, we were attacked by an army just because they're trying to save face. And it's just really, really cool. And so there's just all sorts of fun details like that throughout this whole book. And it's like I really did want more when I finished reading it. And so that's why I gave it 5 stars. It's just a delightful story, and just absolutely delightful.
And as you can see, he didn't give it 5 stars. Actually, he gave it 5 Figaro faces.
Yes.
I'm the one who gives the stars. He gives Figaro's.
There you go.
And for those of you guys who don't know who Figaro is, that's the cat from Pinocchio, Disney's Pinocchio. As if you haven't figured this out, John is a very big Disney fan.
Yeah.
But he took the name Figaro back when I met him. Oh geez, how long has it been? Almost 20 years now.
Something like that.
Yeah. It was like late 90s or early 2000, I think, when you joined CBR, wasn't it?
Yep.
So And that's what he was. Figaro 8, I think it was. Wasn't that what your call sign was?
Yes, yes, it was.
Yeah, and I never even made the connection to the Disney cat until much later, but that's what it was. So.
Yeah. Well, actually, it was that plus. What really happened is that was the nickname that was given to me by my fraternity brothers, because I went to school at Furman University, and I pledged Beta Theta Pi fraternity. And one of our first pledge tasks was we had to have a pledge lock-in. Mm-hmm. And it was really kind of like a team building, getting to know you exercise. And one of the things we had to do was we had to come up with nicknames for each other. And we couldn't help the other brothers out. Mm-hmm. So it was kind of a test or an exercise to see how well they knew us. So Figaro was chosen for me because of Figaro the cat, and because the Barber of Seville and Mozart's Marriage of Figaro, because I'm a musician. So Disney music, they nailed it.
Yeah, they nailed it. and you've used it, so as long as I've known you. So let's go ahead and move on to our next book. That was a 5-star rating book. That's a good thing for us. But let's go ahead and see what else we've got this week. Let's start with Baboon. And it's $14.99. Publisher is Dark Horse Comics. The creator is Pow. The genre is a wildlife, animal, plant documentary type fiction. I didn't really know what to call it, but to be honest, it's recommended for all ages. And ISBN number 978-1-50671-795-1. It was released this past October. And what it's about is a leopard kills and steals a mother baboon with her baby inside to feed to her cub, only to find that her own cub has passed away in its sleep. Distraught, the leopard adopts the baby baboon as her own and teaches it the ways of the land until another leopard attacks the young baboon, and the mother leopard dies to protect her adopted cub. The baboon escapes and travels alone until he manages to return to the very troop he was stolen from. Now he must learn to become one of the troop again and earn his place, but it won't be easy. And when he has to fight both the troop alpha male and defend the troop against the very leopard who killed his adopted mother, what will happen? Recommended for all ages, 5 stars. Definitely a 5-star book. It's a silent comic, meaning there's really no dialogue per se in the book. There are a few dialogues, like when the animal roars, you'll see roar. But no, like, there's no speaking like they're humanoid animals. They're treated like animals. This means that the visual storytelling has to be exceptional because there's nothing there to help convey the story in words. Pow does an exceptional job at this, and I wish that more comics were made like this, almost as a rite of passage for comics artists. You don't get to work regular gigs until you can show us you can do something this powerful without a script to support your work. I think that would get rid of all the ham and egger copycat artists, and we'd have good comics then, from everybody. It's a great choice for fans of The Lion King, Kimba the White Lion, or The Jungle Book. Let's take a look at some of the art. This is basically the mother leopard watching. She notices something in the bushes, but she doesn't know what. And she's up in the tree, perched while the baboon's eating down in the grass and stuff. And as you can see, the baboon is also sleeping up in a tree, curled up next to her in the tree. So I thought that was kind of cool as well. Art's very clean, wonderful detail work, very realistic looking, but cartoony enough that there's expressionism. The expression in the face and the closest to the eyes of the leopard, you can see the intensity of the animal. In this scene, this is where one of the other leopard attacks. And you can see, the 2 eyes peering out of the thing, and then he comes out of the bush. And you can see that he's been shocked, caught off guard. You can see the terror in the baboon's face, and Mama Cat jumps out of the tree and attacks him. Claws the other leopard's face across the eye. The baboon's screaming for his mother to get away, type thing, and they're rolling in the fight. Whoops. And that's pretty much, I don't want to show there, but that's pretty much where the fight, the evil leopard that's basically just hunting the baboon because it's naturally going to feed on baboon pups, kills the mother, and he flees into those rocks that you saw in the background in the earlier page. And then later on, he goes and meets the troop, and he falls for the alpha female, but there's an alpha male in the group that doesn't even look like a baboon. He looks like a giant gorilla. Let me see if I can find it real quick here. Compared to the other baboons, he looks, well, here, do it this way. Now you can see it better. Compared to the other baboons, he looks like a giant gorilla. And, all the other baboons are like his soldiers, and they all beat him up. And then an older one saves him, an elder baboon. And after he got beat up, a snake, which we know the snake in the Jungle Book tries to kill people by seducing and then biting. He's going to kill his mentor, and even though it's this bad baboon that's all busted up, grabs the snake and kills the snake. And there's your one little word balloon, like a an exclamation point and then a death symbol. That's the kind of word balloons you get in this. There's no words. Anyway, basically the older baboon teaches martial arts to our lead character, and he beats up all the other baboons and gets the girl. And then that leopard comes back, the one that chased him as a kid and killed his mom, and he has to defend the troop against the leopard. So just a really good progression of storytelling overall, and just nice clean art. And it's like I don't know if it has a number of pages on here or not. 120 page book for $15. I think that's a pretty good thing. And I don't know if you can. Well, here, let me change it over here again. You see how the claw marks blind the cat in the one eye? That's where Mama hit him and blinded him in the eye.
Okay.
That's how they tell it's the same cat and stuff. So it's like just a really well done design and consistency throughout the book.
It looks like it.
So I really enjoyed that, and again gave that one 5 stars. Our next book is Super Robot Mayhem trade paperback. It's 25 pounds. It comes out of England. That's about $33.50 or so in U.S. funds. Publisher is Subversive Comics. The writers are Jeremy Biggs and Adrian Mersek. As Adrian was more of the creator designer, and Biggs did the plot and script with him. Artist is Jack Borden. You guys might remember a few weeks back I was talking about underrated artist. I mentioned him. This is one of his major projects. The colorists are Borden, Biggs, and Yale Zamore. Genre is science fiction. And it was released in October 2020 in this format. It was actually originally released over the last few years through digital format first. And this is the collected edition that was available through Kickstarter. What it's about. Raiden Nakamura is a space mining engineer who gets infected by an alien virus that causes him to bond with a mysterious giant alien mecha warrior named Mayhem. Together, they are the only thing that can stop the invading demon Imperial Alliance. But Raiden's link to income to Mayhem comes at a great cost. He is slowly losing his mind and self-identity to the alien. Can he end the struggle and then be free of his horrific fate, or will he be consumed by the alien entity? The story is very steeped in the concept of self-awareness and self-control, and the process of losing oneself and the consequences thereof. In this case, Nakamura is faced with the decision of losing his self-identity or losing everything and everyone he loves if he doesn't make the sacrifice, for if he doesn't, then it's likely that all will die at the hands of the DIA, or the Demonic Alliance. It's, I guess you get fairly standard science fiction manga stuff story-wise. It's clearly influenced by Power Rangers, Robotech, Voltron, Manzinger Z, other stuff like that are similar. But they are fleshing out their own world. As I said before, I'm a big fan of Jack's art, and I followed him as he worked on this project for years over on DeviantArt. So I was very happy to see a final printed product. This book is 200 pages, and only about half of it is the first 3 chapters to the story. And the rest of the book is process art, which is lovely to look at, but I admit I wanted more story. I can only hope that they finish this and continue, or at least continue to tell a story. I recommend it for ages 16 up. There is some, it's a little bit more of a mature story. I gave it a 4.5 rating. Big book.
Yeah.
It's an A4 size. I don't remember the exact dimensions of A4 right now, and I can't get to my ruler. But you can see nice big thing. Sorry about it's got a nice reflective UV coating. That's why you're seeing the sheen off the camera. As you can see, it's kind of like that very Japanese manga cell art on paper. In this case, Ulysses is the guy in the orange suit, and Nakamura is his partner, and saying, "Hey, don't do that. You're going to get in trouble, and it's your tether is going to get disconnected." And of course, he doesn't listen, and he does. And Nakamura has to go out and try and save him out in space. That's how it starts. And they have an argument about him, about Ulysses being reckless. And Ulysses is already, you guys can't tell, but he's wearing a bodysuit that has bracers on it because he's basically got in a car accident as a stunt driver type thing, and now he's in a wheelchair, wears those special braces so he can at least move. Otherwise, he's paralyzed. They find an asteroid that's gigantic, and they go to this asteroid to get the resources, and that's when they find a robot. This is deep into the cave, and this is just the head that they find. So that gives you an idea of how big this mecha is. And this mecha is buried deep inside the asteroid. But the mecha is alive, and they go deep inside the head of the mecha and try to go down and figure out things. And Nakamura gets hit by these tethers that go through him, through his body, and basically inject the psyche of Mayhem into his body. And while they can manage to get him out of that so that he would not die from the wounds, it basically leaves his mind with the alien entity in his brain. He has to go back and connect more naturally to the mecha. When this happens, the Empress of the Demonic Alliance senses the trigger of Mayhem being activated. They've been looking for it because they want to get the creature's power for their own uses. And when that triggers, they figure out where he's going, and they send the aliens to that signal. Send their soldiers to that signal. And the first battle is this kid, this human that's now bonded to this mecha, fighting off these alien soldiers without any real prior training. It's quite interesting. One thing I did not like, in a way, and I'll show you the demonic Empress. As you can see, it goes from color to black and white. And I don't know why it did that. I mean, the black and white art is beautiful, as much as the color is, as you can see.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, when we get into the second chapter, it's all black and white with grayscale. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't know if that's just because the time, consumption, it was just simpler to do in black and white. Jack says he likes black and white more than color. He doesn't like to do the color. So maybe that's why they did it that way. I don't know. But the second and third chapters are all black and white. And then at the end of the second chapter, we're only about maybe 80 or 90 pages into the book. Everything else is process art, which is, it's just amazing stuff. An interview with the writers and with Jack is in here as well.
Cool.
You get a lot of beautiful artwork from Jack in here, showing different designs that they didn't use and ones that they did and everything. And I really enjoyed the book, but I think I had to knock it down to half star because I didn't feel like I had enough story. I needed to have more. Hope that makes sense.
It does.
I wish that someone in America would just buy the rights. Dark Horse should pick this up and re-release it in the same format. I think it'd be, Dark Horse does a pretty good job with the manga books. But I don't know. I don't know who Jeremy would want to work with, if anybody. Yeah, I'm hoping that there won't be too much longer for Volume 2. We'll wait and see. So let's go ahead and go to John's next story. And that would be what?
This would be the Young Justice Batman Brave and the Bold Super Sampler. This was one of the free comic book day offerings for 2011.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I did not get this on free comic book day, so I had to pay $1 for it. Oh, the irony. But it was $1 well spent. I will say that. So, publishers DC Comics. There are two stories in this issue. So we have the writers are Art Baltazar and Franco and Shali Fish. Artists are Mike Norton, Zach Atkinson. Mike Norton and Rick Burchett on the pencils. Norton and Dan Davis on the inks. Zach Atkinson and Gabe Eltab, I guess, on the colors. Right. Letters, Carlos M. Mangual and Travis Lanham, and covers by Mike Norton and Alex Sinclair. And again, this is from 2011. So, what it's about: Young Justice takes on Psycho Pirate and Atomic Skull and Face Your Fears, and a Brave and the Bold tale featuring Batman, Flash, Heatwave, and Firefly called Let Me Tell You About Bruce Wayne. So, as the title suggests, this is a sampling of two great books based on two great animated series. I don't know how many of you have seen Young Justice and Batman Brave and the Bold. Brave and the Bold was, I found very funny and entertaining, and I thought Young Justice just simply a great show all around. And I love that. Young Justice. It was fun, but it took itself seriously at the same time, and it was extremely well animated, I thought, and just an all around great show. And of course, when you do a comic based on a property, and especially an animated show, the comic, has to feel like it came from the same world as the show, in both story and visuals. And I think they really did that here. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to start. This is a little different from the description I typed up. I'm going to start with the second story first.
Okay.
And I'll save the best for last.
Okay.
So the second story is the Let Me Tell You About Bruce Wayne, again by Shali Fish and Rick Burchett. And in that story, Bruce Wayne fails to show up at a charity ball because, no surprise, he's being Batman, and Flash has called him to Central City to help him take down Heatwave and Firefly. And so what you have is the story juxtaposes, the people at the charity ball commenting on Bruce Wayne and his, lack of motivation and whatever. And then you have shots of Batman, in action, being Batman. So an example. So here's an example of that. So you have the
socialites.
Yeah, the socialites, and of course the guy at the bottom says, the only person Bruce Wayne is concerned about is Bruce Wayne, and he happens to be saving some kids at that very moment.
Mm-hmm.
So here's the Flash in action.
Yeah, there's something about that. I'm seeing him carrying a girl, right?
Yeah.
I've always wondered what happens. I guess they entered a force field, or the field of the Speed Force, and don't get hurt while he's holding them. Because imagine going at whatever speed he's running at with no protective clothing. She's got bare legs and stuff. That would hurt, right?
Yeah.
Or am I just being? I'm not trying to be a jerk or anything. It's just comics. It's fun and games in that respect.
I really hadn't thought about that before. So
I just think it's an interesting thing, and that I guess some people hate when people like me do that because they think you're trying to make it too realistic. But I just want to know how the powers work. That's all.
Yeah. Okay, and so here we have Heatwave and Firefly. Firefly is emitting as a light that will turn Flash flat, literally. And of course, Heatwave tries to set Batman on fire. Fortunately, Batman has a fireproof cape, and Flash can eventually work his way out of being flat. And so in the end, the villains are captured, and of course, reliable Alfred Pennyworth covers for Bruce Wayne, and basically he says, whatever amount you earn tonight, just make this blank check for double the amount, but don't tell anybody, because Bruce Wayne, likes to remain anonymous, but I guess if you're his friend, you would already know that, so a nice snarky comment from Alfred at the end. And that's the second story.
And that's a good story.
Yep.
You say that's not the better of the two stories.
Well, I
don't know. I'm just like, I'm waiting to see what the first one is then.
And part of the reason I say that, as you'll see in a minute, is because of the artwork. But the first story is called Face Your Fears, and it's the team battling Psycho Pirate and Atomic Skull, and during this battle, the team learns to overcome fear and doubt and work together.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is artwork by Mike Norton, and I love Mike Norton. In fact,
I think you're a little bit biased towards Mike, but that's cool.
Yeah, I'd almost forgotten how much I liked his work, but I just find I love his style. I think it's very clean, and I think it's perfectly suited for all ages material like this. But so here's first page of the team in action.
Well, okay, now with that one, it's a little bit more, I don't know, more modernized than the traditional DCAU art style.
Yep. And I think that's one of the reasons I like it, because yes, he's drawn the characters well, but I feel like I'm still getting a little bit of him.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Rick Burchett sticks more toward the style of like the exact style of Gold. But Psycho Pirates has stolen a hunk of plutonium, and it's never made clear exactly what he intends to do with it, but it's not going to be good. And he has the ability to get inside people's minds and control their thoughts, which is just what he does, and as he's doing to Kid Flash here. And so here we have, this is Kid Flash and Robin under his control, and we'll see the others in a minute. And of course, all the members of Young Justice are, of course, young heroes, but they're living in the shadow of their, for lack of a better term, more famous adult counterparts.
Mentors.
Thank you. And so it talks a lot about how each one is like they're always afraid they'll never live up to what they're supposed to be. And so this is Robin and Kid Flash, and then we have Superboy, Aqualad,
Ms. Martian,
and of course Kid Flash again. it actually, since we were just talking about Starfire having a daughter, it actually kind of made me wonder what her daughter would say if she was in this situation.
Mm-hmm. Again, again, this is the same trope. It's the exact same trope that they're talking about. Right there. They're all doubtful of that, of how the world perceives them and how their own mentors and parents perceive them. Yep.
So, of course, Kid Flash, because of his metabolism, is the first one to break out of the spell. And I just love this bottom image of him. I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we have Atomic Skull shows up, and more hijinks ensue.
Mm-hmm.
And in the end, they catch one bad guy, one escapes, but they do get the plutonium. So, you win one, you lose one, but it's part of learning. So, but again, it's a really fun story, and I really liked how they handled them, facing their fears.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I love Mike Norton's artwork. So once again, but both stories are great. Both of the individual books are great, Young Justice and Batman. So if you run across any back issues of these, highly recommend it.
And you gave that a 5 out of 5 as well.
5 out of 5 Figaros, yes, sir.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
And now I'm glad we did the rant, because I didn't realize before I'd be able to compare the two.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It was meant to be. That's why
it was meant to be.
I gave you the floor. You took it and ran with it. Okay, what else we got this week? We got all kinds of cool stuff, don't we? We have Planet Paradise. Trade paperback, $16.99. Publisher is Image Comics. Creator is Jesse Lonergan. Genre is science fiction, action, adventure. It was released earlier this month, or last month rather, November 2020. ISBN number 978-1-5343-1698-0. And what it's about is Eunice, a woman beginning an intergalactic vacation with her husband Peter to a place called Rydra 17, the Paradise Planet. They want this vacation as the world they inhabit is overpopulated and busy, with the airport just as packed as any you would find on Earth. They lift off on an 11-day journey to Rydra 17, but along the way something goes awry, prompting their rocket to crash on a desolate planet. Eunice survives and awakens from her travel pod and soon discovers the ship's captain, Glenda, has also survived, and that they are trapped on a planet populated by hungry killer lizards, putting them in a situation that is all about survival. It is recommended for ages 16 and up. However, as the story unfolds, Eunice and the reader begin to discover that the captain, Glenda, is mostly useless. It's Eunice who must step up to the plate and ensure their survival. While the captain whines and turns to painkillers for her injuries from the medical kit, Eunice is the one who signals for help and comes up with a strategy to not only save their lives in the immediate sense, but get herself, the captain, and the other vacationers' pods off of this world and to their intended destination. Now, I kind of get what Lonergan is trying to convey, but it's just not logical. I find it very unrealistic that a captain who should be trained in they should be trained to handle this very scenario, would behave in the manner that Glenda does. Now, that doesn't mean that they would automatically thrive and know what to do, and everything would be fine. But chances are with that, if a captain reacted the way that Glenda does in this book, they would have flunked their test and they wouldn't be there in the first case. You know, in a real world scenario, they wouldn't be there. But I guess what Lonergan's trying to say is that society hides from its troubles and responsibilities and avoids it at all costs, as evidenced by Glenda turning to painkillers. Unfortunately, it's also kind of the stereotypical representation of a black woman being big boned and kind of like a pack mule who carries around the wounded and privileged white captain as presented as incompetent. And you can see from the cover, she's a bit, she's carrying the captain in her armor on her back in the middle of this planetary desert type thing. That's the way the cover looks. But I do like the safari ending. There's an ending where they get to the planet that they're meant to be. And they go out on a safari, even though the husband says, "Oh, you wouldn't want to go on that." But they go, and they get into trouble, and her husband and the guy who's driving their vehicle freak out, and she just grabs the pulse rifle and kills the beast that's about to have them for lunch. After the idiot driver runs over the beast's youngling. In other words, it wasn't done on purpose. It was accidental. Guess what he was doing? He was texting and driving. Even in the future, they text and drive. So it's sort of a mixed bag comic as a result in terms of the story. The artwork reminds me of the same kind of art style that Titan had from Francis Vignol. And I've covered that on the show in the past. But it's a little rougher. It's not as clean and refined in the detail work as Francois' work is. But if you liked what I said about Titan, you'll probably enjoy this book as well. Recommended for ages 16 and up. I gave it 3.5 stars. Let's look at the art. And you can see, it's you got the detail there, but the inking is very open and very, I won't call it rough. I mean, it's just not crisp and tight inking. It's very brush oriented, very one-dimensional line weights and stuff like that in some cases. But whether it's because he's doing the color or the way he's doing it, or because he understands that he can create the depth perception with the heavier black, Lonergan still manages to get the depth perception on these panels. What do you think of his art, John?
It's not bad. Excuse me.
Anyway, this is the beginning where they're getting on the rocket ship to go to the new planet. And I'm okay with them holding hands. I'm okay. It's different. If you're going to show interracial couples, I'm kind of glad you got a black woman with a white guy, because almost all the time when we see interracial couples, it's every other race woman with black men, especially in Hollywood, and that kind of bothers me a little bit. I think it creates a racial tension that shouldn't be there because of that. Because that's not what interracial relationships are. There's interracial relationships from all kinds of backgrounds for both genders. So I think Hollywood does a disservice to that a little bit and messes with us a little bit on that. And I think that affects how we perceive people in society. But let's go ahead and take back a look at the art. Another page of the artwork is this is Glenda, doing all final stuff. I just love this. Tweak this knob, flip that switch, grip the handle, type in the codes. Vroom. Yeah. That's just her pulling back the lever for launching. It does some nice artwork. I'm trying to get to the back to the home planet or the place they're supposed to go, Hydra 17. They've made it back. Here's Eunice in a hot tub watching TV, and they put Glenda as the star super person that saved everybody on TV, even though Eunice did all the work, and Glenda gets all the credit because she was the captain of the ship. And of course, she says, "I only did what anyone else would have done," and you can see the expression on Eunice's face. Really?
Yep.
It's really well done there. So she talks to Peter, and we're going to go out on that safari trip, and he's like, "Why would you want to go there? That's not you. What's going on?" Because at the time he was out the whole time. She thought he died in the crash of the rocket ship on the other planet, but she found his pod. He was unconscious still. He never woke up out of it, so he doesn't know what happened with her. So anyway, they go out on the safari, and there's the little ship going on the safari. It's like a walker type thing, track with tank treads on there. Here's this giant monster that they come across. And of course, the driver's too busy texting. He looks up, "What's that? Oh, shoot." But here's actually where they first see it. And he goes, "Yeah, that's just a certain thing." And they don't pay no attention. They don't care as long as you don't bother their young. Crunch.
Yeah.
Runs right over the poor kid, poor Critter's baby. Yeah. Gee, I wonder why it went. So now it's trying to destroy them for killing the kid. Running along after it, and they're just going on their little mini tank there. What are we going to do? We're going to get killed. We're going to get killed. We're going to get killed. Oh, the hell with this. Pulls out a gun out of the back of the car. Zip.
Mm.
Pretty badass gun, huh?
Yeah, I'll say.
Yeah. And now, her husband's like, "What the hell?" All the pieces of the thing are flying around, dropping around. Just, no problem. Come on, let's go home. I love that. It's like, it just shows that even though she didn't get credited for saving the lives of all those people, and Glenda got all the credit, even though Glenda was a pain in the butt for the whole book. She can still defend and still protect others just because it's the right thing to do, and she knows she can do it. So that was a cool part of the book there. But like I said, there's a little bit too many basic tropes. Like I said, she's looking like a pack mule, and she's a black woman. She's a bigger boned person and stuff like that are kind of, I don't know. Well, there's truth to it that there are bigger boned black women out there and everything. It just kind of, it felt like the writer was trying to do too much in the similar trope that were not necessarily intentionally negative stereotypes, but they can be seen as negative stereotypes.
Right.
So that's why I knocked it down to 3.5. But it's still a good book, though. Our last book for the night is called The Furnace. It's 1995 from Tor Books. The creator, writer-artist Prentice Rollins. Genre is science fiction. The ISBN numbers there's two of them because there's one. It was originally released in an ebook and then re-released as a printed version. I read the printed version from the local library. ISBN number 978-765 or 978-0-7653. 9868-0 is the printed version. 978-0-7653-9867-3 is the ebook version. The year is 2052, and physicist Walton Onerick returns to New York City with his wife and young daughter. He is uneasy, very world-weary and depressed. After an incident where the family sees a floating metallic drone in the air, he gets angry and forces the family back to their hotel room. As the story unfolds, he later explains his actions in anger to his young daughter, Clara, that he helped develop and test those drones and what they actually are. 20 years earlier, Walt and another physicist and science genius worked together to build an AI for the drone, and Walt tested it to see if he could crack the safety protocols. When it was determined that he could not, the government stepped in and took the technology and used it for a very questionable purpose. Whoops, something is missing here. I wonder what's missing. Let me see if I can find it. That's interesting. Okay, well, let me tell you what it's about without the panels there then. Whoops. What it's about is the furnace, these drones, they keep an electromagnetic field, and they stand behind you and just behind you so that you can't see it. It'll shift around so you can never see it. And it puts this field of electromagnetic around you. And you're basically imprisoned in this electromagnetic field. No one can see you. You're invisible. And if you try to get through this field, it will electrocute you to death. And it's done to all the criminals. Now, the horrific point of this is, what if you're innocent and you didn't do this wrong and you're stuck in this thing? Or even just the thought of, it's like cruel, unusual punishment. Really, it's not, but this is what our government in this story does to get rid of the prisons. So the criminals are still out there walking among us in society. They just can't touch anything, and nobody sees them. Weird, right?
Yeah.
But it's a cool idea in a way, but I don't think it would work. But anyway, he the really horrible part of it is the other doctor, and unfortunately I can't remember his name because I turned the book into the library today, and the page that had all that information is missing somehow. I don't know why. Off the graphic, but he disappears, and they think he died. But he was the only one that had the key to turn off the machine. So the government doesn't know how to turn him off. So everybody that they ever put into this program is now stuck in those electromagnetic chambers, walking around, never being able to communicate with anybody on the outside for as long as they live. And when their bodies die out, the drone turns itself off and returns home and leaves the body out for the rest of us to find.
Wow.
Thousands, tens of thousands a day at the worst peak. And and here's this guy that helped develop this AI, and he's carrying all this burden of guilt and shame of it. And it's a wonderful metaphor all throughout the book as Rollins shows the relationship between the two physicists and what was this all about? What is this for? And the other doctors not telling him, because if he'd known this is what he was going to do, he wouldn't have agreed to it, obviously. It's just such a weird thing. But he's got this wonderful balance of theme and societal examination that he wants us as an audience to think about our problems with overcrowded prisons and what do we do with criminals. And yet the book is very character driven around Walter and around the story of the two scientists. And even though Walter is not the most likable guy, due to his own self-loathing and his self-destructive behaviors through his guilt over this, by the end of the book, we see a man who's coming to terms with his past and is able to forgive himself for his mistakes through his daughter's understanding. And while Clara and the mother are not nearly as well developed as characters, because it's mostly about Walt's memories and the situation with Mark, that's the character's name, Mark Lafour. But there's a moment at the end of the book where he's explained the story of what happened to his daughter. And his daughter's very young. I mean, let's look at the picture again. You can see she's, looks fairly young there. Let me see if I've got any artwork from this. No, I don't. Okay. Just wanted to make sure. But she's like maybe 8 to 10 years old. But they've had the conversation at the end of the book. They go outside of the hotel, and she sees it on one of the drones. And she runs up real close to the drone, like maybe 6 or 8 feet. And she says to the space underneath the drone, I can't see you. You're invisible, but I know you're there. And I want you to know I'm sorry that you're there. And so is my dad knows you're there, and he's sorry too.
Wow.
And she's basically saying it to this complete stranger, who knows what's in what that person did, if they deserved it, whatever. Nobody deserves that kind of inhumane imprisonment, but whatever. She's apologizing for her own father. She's asking for, she's expressing what he can't express because of his own self-loathing. And it takes the innocence of a child who understands the simplicity of it, but not the complexities of it, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
And then she goes back to her dad. And it's like when he sees her do that, he knows that the next generation will understand that this needs to stop, and that even when all these people will die and this will come to an end, they won't use these anymore, type thing, hopefully. But they never do find a way to stop the drones from doing it, because if you try to turn them off, they've got a safety protocol. It basically just kills the person immediately. So it's like if you try to put a virus and instead of virus, it just kills the computer. That's what it does to the person inside the electromagnetic field underneath the drone. So it was just a really kind of spooky type story in that respect. And yeah, that's something that theoretically is plausible. We could go that direction in our society. And, of course, where's it done? America. They were not in America. They were in Britain, and they don't have that in Britain. He left America to go there, and then they came back. That's why they were coming back to New York. But so it's it's really quite an interesting book, though. And I gave that a 5-star rating as well, because it is just a really well done piece. Like I said, Clara goes and expresses the sympathy and extends the acknowledgement of sorrow and apologies, so and forgiveness, which really makes the child's role in the story more powerful, because the child is so otherwise just like a sounding board for him as he tells the story. The rest of the other way. So, but it's a top tip book, so if you can find it, get it. I recommend it for 16 and up, and that is a 5-star book. And that is our reviews for this week, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank my co-host, John Norris, Figaro. And let's see what else we got going on here. Oh. This weekend, I will probably be doing a commission piece of Ultra Instinct Goku and Jiren from Dragon Ball Z fighting each other. That's what I'm supposed to be drawing. So I'm going to have to find some reference for that and draw that this weekend. And then we'll be preparing for next week's show and for that store appearance on the 12th. And what do you got planned? I guess you're doing some more Footloose, you said?
Yes. Our next show, I do community theater. For those who don't know, our next show, I'm glad we're able to do community theater right now. Our next show is going to be Footloose in February, but we're having a orientation for the cast and a couple of rehearsals in December, just to get things going before Christmas, and then we'll really hit the ground running in January.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess then we're going to just go ahead and call it a night. You want to reach me? You reach me on Facebook at Lewis.BrightRaven, on Twitter at LewisBrightRave2, on DeviantArt.com/BrightRaven, on YouTube, Quoth the Raven, Lewis BrightRaven. If you want to email me, reach me at quoththeravenlbr72@gmail.com or LewisBrightRaven@yahoo.com. The podcast regularly airs on Thursday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And again, we will be back on probably Saturday for that live draw session. You got anything else you want to add before we leave?
No, I think that just about covers it.
All righty then. We will see you guys this weekend, and have a good night then.
Good night, folks.